Oh, we're one step closer as an American people to getting our hands on Jack Smith's final report, at least about the D.C. election interference criminal prosecution of Donald Trump, which has already, as of the 7th of January, been delivered to the Attorney General. And the Attorney General has now grown a pair and filed with the 11th Circuit a brand new motion to have Judge Cannon's block of the release to the public of these all critical, statutorily mandated reports by the special counsel. They're moving to lift that stay, primarily because they're only releasing right now the D.C. election interference one, which has nothing to do with Judge Cannon nor the defendants there. They're not planning, neither special counsel Jack Smith nor Merrick Garland are planning to release the Mar-a-Lago final report anytime soon. Confused? You won't be when I'm done with my hot take here on the Legal AF and the MeidasTouch Network. I'm Michael Popok. This is a fast-moving case, but this is going to be one of the last words on the matter for now until the 11th Circuit rules, and they're waiting for some final briefing, and I expect a ruling by them in the next 24 to 48 hours. What's going on? What's going on is that Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira, who were put up to it, I'm sure, by Donald Trump's lawyers in coordination with them, filed in the last couple of days an emergency motion to have Judge Cannon, their favorite judge, block the release of the two final reports, Volume 1 and Volume 2, that we know exist, probably 1,000 pages in total, by the special counsel, and not have them transmitted to the Attorney General, not have the Attorney General under the law that is required to release it to the American people because of the interest of justice. How do we know all this? Because on the 3rd and 4th or so of January, Donald Trump and his lawyers were given an opportunity in secret, in private, to review Volume 1 and Volume 2. But what they weren't told is that when those two volumes were transmitted to Merrick Garland, as required by federal law at the conclusion of a special counsel's work, there was a note attached to the second volume. First volume has to do with the D.C. election interference case before Judge Chutkan, all against Donald Trump. The second volume about Mar-a-Lago, really smart that Jack Smith split it up into two volumes. And the love note that Jack Smith wrote to Merrick Garland with Volume 2 was, "Dear boss," I'm paraphrasing, "I don't recommend the release to the public of Volume 2 while the Mar-a-Lago case still continues against Donald Trump's co-conspirators, Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira." That case has been stuck, kind of frozen in amber, trapped in amber at the 11th Circuit, waiting for it to make a ruling as to whether Judge Cannon was right or wrong to dismiss the indictment against everybody, finding that the special counsel was unconstitutionally appointed and unconstitutionally funded. Yes or no? That's been sitting there for several months. In the meantime, they ran, the lawyers for Donald Trump, through Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira, ran into Judge Cannon's office, not knowing about the love note from Jack Smith to Merrick Garland about, "Hey, boss, don't release Volume 2, only release Volume 1, and started jumping up and down about Volume 2. Don't release Mar-a-Lago, don't release any of it until the immunity decision and whether the special counsel was properly appointed is decided by the 11th Circuit. And, you know, it's very easy to bend the ear of Judge Cannon. Let's just leave it at that. They didn't run into Judge Chutkan's chambers and ask for this relief. So they filed it with Judge Cannon, and she said, "Whoa, stop everything. I'm going to issue a temporary stay until the 11th Circuit can decide if I was right or wrong about whether the special counsel was properly appointed, because if he wasn't properly appointed, maybe his final report's not properly appointed. So I'm going to stop everything." So she did a very defined injunction, stay order, in which she stayed the Department of Justice from releasing it to the public or leaking it to the public, but she didn't enjoin special counsel nationwide. And frankly, he had already delivered, of course, she didn't know this, but the Department of Justice had already received, Merrick Garland had already received on the 7th of January, the transmission of the report. So that had already happened. So she couldn't stop that. And she also couldn't stop him. And this is the argument. She can't stop the special counsel from completing his job. The statute says at the completion of the special counsel's work, he will deliver a final report to the Attorney General, who will review the final report and make a determination as to whether any part of it will be released to the public in the public interest. So on the Volume 1 about the D.C. election interference case, not related to Judge Cannon, the special counsel told Merrick Garland, this should really go now in the public interest. And Merrick Garland agrees. He has announced that as long as he gets out from under this ambiguous stay order by Judge Cannon, because the 11th Circuit lifts the stay, which is what is going on right now that we're watching in real time, he will deliver to Congress and to the American people the volume 1, because it's of great public importance to know about the attempt to interfere with elections by the person who's now going to be president of the United States again. But he's also said he has no intention of releasing volume 2 until the conclusion of the appeal related to Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira. So that's how he is splitting the difference or protecting justice, right? This is the compromise he's made. And once Merrick Garland took that position, he's telling the 11th Circuit, there's basically nothing to see here. This is all moot because Carlos de Oliveira and Walt Nauta aren't parties to the D.C. election interference case. They have no standing to object to anything related to that release. The judge was not presiding over that particular matter. The transmission of the brief of the final report has already happened, and she has not enjoined the special counsel from doing his job. So he said, as soon as you lift this, I am going to deliver it to Congress. Now, here's the little fly in the ointment. It looks like the 11th Circuit has finally woken up. I've asked them to in numerous hot takes. Hair is now on fire. They've asked Carlos de Oliveira and Walt Nauta, puppets for the true puppet master, Donald Trump, to respond later today with a filing as to whether they can lift the stay. Like what standing do you have and what harm do you have if we allow the Merrick Garland to release to Congress and the American people a volume of the report that has nothing to do with you? Good luck answering that question. You know, Donald Trump's working overtime with his lawyers to try to come up with some excuse for that. But I think the 11th Circuit now is going to lift this stay, and they may not make the ultimate ruling. They may not be ready to make the ultimate ruling, although it's been fully briefed, as to whether Cannon was right or wrong to dismiss the indictment finding Jack Smith to be invalid and unconstitutional. But they can lift the stay right now. So I think they may, even though Merrick Garland has said, as soon as I'm out from under the stay, I think, frankly, he could ignore the stay order, but he does it under a threat of contempt. He could just ignore the stay order because on its surface, it doesn't affect what's already been transmitted. It's moot. She doesn't have jurisdiction over it. I've already argued time and time again that she is outside her lane, that she does not have the jurisdiction to enter orders about cases that are up on appeal, cases that she's already dismissed. She's been divested of jurisdiction. Trial judges can't make rulings about matters up at the appellate court just because they feel like it. And Donald Trump's not a party to this matter anymore anyway. So I think you have all of that going on. And I think ultimately the 11th Circuit will lift the stay, once again, the third time reprimanding, if you will, and reversing Judge Cannon, in this case alone, and they will allow Merrick Garland to deliver Volume 1 to the American people through Congress. Now, the problem is if they don't move quickly, let me just play this out. If the 11th Circuit doesn't move quickly and get this done before the 20th of January, they have to know that Donald Trump is going to pardon Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira, and therefore, there's not going to be any parties left up there. And they're going to have a problem, right? They're going to have a problem. Not if they allow it. Now, once the case is over against de Oliveira and Nauta, then Merrick Garland can release Volume 2 because the case is over. And this would be the concluding volume in that story. Just because they got pardoned, we know that's not a real defense to any liability. That's just something that we give when you're guilty. And so that will come out. That's now, I love the Department of Justice has now put Donald Trump on the horns of a dilemma. If he pardons him and ends the case, then they will ultimately that report, Volume 2, is going to come out. If the 11th Circuit rules in time, however, this won't be a problem. I think they should rule already on the substance of the appeal, reverse Judge Cannon, find that she was wrong, that the special counsel is invalid and unconstitutional, reinstate the case against Carlos de Oliveira and Walt Nauta, take it away from her, reassign it, which they're allowed to do at the 11th Circuit, reassign it to another judge because she is so upside down and doesn't know which way is up at this point and has made so many false rulings that have been reversed. She needs to go. I think they do that too. They should do that. And then Merrick Garland releases Volume 1 and holds Volume 2 in his back pocket. until they are tried. Now, the problem with that is if they're not tried until after January, which is going to happen, we know that the Attorney General for Donald Trump is not going to release Volume 2. So we may never see Volume 2 about Mar-a-Lago. I mean, that's the problem when Judge Cannon made that ruling against the against the special counsel. They felt like, as a Department of Justice, they had to keep that case alive through appeal in order to reverse this bad precedent. But by doing so, they also now probably have also just tanked any ability for us as the public to see Volume 2 about Mar-a-Lago, because it'll just be completely buried in a vault somewhere. Yeah, when the Democrats win again 4 years from now, that Attorney General may release it to the public. We'll start getting that. But I just wanted to kind of catch you up with what's happening. So what's the final word right here? Here's the final word. The Department of Justice has filed their brief. They've argued that they already have had the transmission of the reports. They're not planning to release Volume 2 about Mar-a-Lago until that case is over, meaning those standing to argue the emergency application by Oliveira or Nauta, that they are planning to deliver Volume 1, for which nobody can object, and Judge Cannon has no jurisdiction, to Congress and the American people. That special counsel Jack Smith had already said he was not going to release Volume 2. He just didn't tell that to Trump's lawyers because it's none of their business. But they know it now, and that report's been sitting with Merrick Garland already since the 7th of January. There'll be another round of filing by Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira at 5 p.m. today. I don't think it'll move the needle. I think ultimately the 11th Circuit is going to reverse Judge Cannon again. I'll come back here on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch Network to report on it. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.